This year, on account of COVID-19, the mayor canceled all celebrations. Leave- Yep. In her crowded little kitchen, in a well-worn pot, Aunt Rose prepares the soup that she is serving for Shabbat. Is that what? By the way, Jerry, did you want pictures of our results? No. You didn't say.
Going to, yeah, trust it. Okay. So we're going to be doing a very quick and brief welcome. I don't need anything along these lines. Sorry, like you're welcome to leave it.
No, I think this is Andrea's, right? Yeah, so it should be here anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about tonight. I'm
good.
Looking forward to it.
Good. We're looking forward to it too.
Yeah. Well, I can imagine. Yeah, that makes sense too.
It's
Right?
yeah, it's kind of an exciting project.
I read recently that Ringo, like well into their as well, we can still say Shabbat Shalom for a little bit longer. Oh, do it again. All right, one more time. Welcome to everyone who's joining us online. We'll get started in just a few minutes, wishing everyone a Chag Sameach. Thanks, Paul. Say it again. So those, we can use that for the Q&A afterwards. Okay. All right, perfect.
What's that? The charge? Yeah. Okay.
That's perfect.
Hi.
Hi.
Are we doing Havdalah? Is that a complex question?
No.
Okay.
Because we didn't ahead of time.
All part of the fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was yeah.
I
That was-
suggested we walked in. Probably not.
So that was a straightforward oversight. Yeah. So we are assuming that everyone has
We made their separation.
yes. So we're doing the Chag. So it's,
Right. Right.
there is you do a shorter Havdalah, but no. Yeah.
We're awash in spirituality.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We are. There's actually a tradition. I know that we say you can wait until Tuesday, right? But I've been in some communities where they'll have davening and singing for Sudat Shlishit, the third meal.
Okay.
And they'll deliberately, at the end of the third meal, slow down the last songs that they sing.
Oh, wow.
And they get slower and slower. And even though it's nighttime, they're still like holding on to Shabbat.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
anyway, in a more serious note, like, let's allow it a little longer.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, I got to see you last weekend and this weekend. It's really good to see you.
That's great. All it takes is like, some magical soul, because
Yeah.
cantor.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you want your guitar, you can borrow Bill's dongle.
Yeah, and I realized when I said that there's an
That's common
accidental
here every
subtext. I mean, no piece of that subtext only truly that I experienced.
I'm doing two songs.
What's that?
This is not
Working. So you gotta use the black one.
No.
Cantor, do you want? Oh. Yeah.
songs?
We're just doing Sweet as Honey, and then a song called Home by J.J.
Rabbi Fox?
Yeah. How are you?
Good. How are you?
What's that?
What's the bar logo? Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see how people react to it.
I'm excited, and we'll actually, people will have an opportunity to essentially do that, to
Yeah,
have some
afterwards
question
a
and answers.
discussion.
Yeah. 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 Andrea,
A couple of days to yourself.
My day off is Monday, and I have
that means that it's important.
Max is going. Yeah, and that's more your engagement.
So, it's Shavuot. What exactly are we doing? Jeremy said it was like 10 minutes of Shavuot. My hair is going to have to grow all the
Yeah. Just not like the material, or is it just?
You're much more classy. Rabbi, you can open the house if you'd like.
Okay, I was just going to check in.
Yes.
All right,
Yeah,
great.
great.
All right. Cantor, are you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm just going to invite anyone who would like to join.
Where am I supposed to be?
That's good.
Okay.
Do you have any
It's on the stand.
Ready.
Can I say my seat for,
Right.
or should I just let them fight for
Yeah.
it?
I didn't practice a lot until much later in my life, so like I get it.
It's to keep,
Inevitably, it's like,
Do you want to move your sweater? It's just
stick it with Barry too, or who? Oh, okay, amazing. I mean, if he wants to be as good as he wants to be, he'll try to get better. Yeah. And is he practicing slow, or is he trying to like? See, that's deadly. It's so deadly. Right. Right. Totally.
I'm widowed.
Oh,
Yeah. So I'm doing
nice. No kids?
I have 2 kids that are in Atlanta and Kansas City. Yeah. Yep.
Just got it up there.
Yeah, probably.
We need to our strengths.
Yeah, that's it.
I should have this think so. Very much. She thinks. Yeah. She's like,
plugged in?
I am.
Okay. We can hop back.
Oh,
and forth.
that's right.
No, that's
So
fine.
can I put my thing here
Please.
then?
Yeah. I am with you. we'll be with you in just a moment. But, yeah.
I'm going to put in the budget a bed. I've been here 3 times.
Sounds totally fine as long as you put it in my office or Cantor's office. We can use it too for naps.
Sounds good to me. It'll look.
Probably better in his office because you and I are saying it's not going to work at
It's
all.
not gonna work.
Okay. Now for something completely different. Yeah. Okay. It's actually going to be after the second song that Cantor sings. That's when we're switching. So I'm happy to cue you, but that's the second song called Home.
Something happened.
I always hate stopping Shavuot there. Yeah. Standing at Sinai. Gather together at the foot of a mountain to meet God, but why do we need a mountain? Maybe it's just a useful metaphor. A mountain of the needy and the suffering that we ignore every day. Or a mountain of guilt, a mountain of debt. Maybe it's all of the knowledge we've yet to learn. Or a mountain of fear, a mountain of the unknown, a mountain of uncertainty and procrastination and failure. A mountain to roll a stone up, a mountain of opposition. Oy vey izmir. God is the law. In the right and the wrong of our choices, this mountain is huge. Or maybe it's just a regular old earth mountain. A very large pile of dirt and vegetation, merely geology, with trails to climb and rocks to stand on and to take in the view. Animals and bugs living in hidden places, forming their own perfect worlds, with no reference to us whatsoever, as long as we leave them alone. Maybe this mountain is our earth, our world, to cherish and take care of, or to abuse and ignore. God is everywhere in nature, and we are only one speck on the mountain. Maybe this mountain is Mount Sinai, and we are waiting for revelation because God, the actual God of Torah and Talmud and Tikkun Olam, is getting ready to show God's self to us. Maybe all the truth and love in the world is actually making itself available to us, for real, all at once. We who have done nothing but cry and complain, poor hungry scared us, and this is more special and holy than we can take in, so we look away and cover our ears. And God is in the marvelous silence. So let us step up to the metaphors. Step up to the dirt and the revelations. We are standing at Sinai, and it is for all of us, however we experience it. Baruch atah Adonai, Ruach HaOlam, blessed oneness, breath of the universe, we are humble in this presence, however manifest. And let us say, Amen. Words from a friend, Trisha Arland, who writes about our experience of this holiday of Shavuot. We understand this moment as a celebration of the receiving of Torah at Mount Sinai, and we have 5 books of Moses, but I tonight am telling you that there are more books. Each and every one of us writes a book of Torah in our lives. Taking the words written so long ago and not just letting them live today, but letting them be written today as well. And so this evening, as we celebrate our receiving of Torah, we will receive Torah also from one another. We're going to hear the stories, we're going to experience and be with the members of our community, reading those books that happened when you keep turning the scroll and finding the pages that are right off the end. We're also going to do a little bit of singing as we welcome in this holiday this evening. And so we know that Torah is meant to be sweet as honey on our tongues. So we have a little bit of a song to kind of get our souls warmed up to this evening. I'm going to turn it over to Cantor Cooper to get us going on this.
So this is Sweet as Honey, and this has in this song, the prayer that we say over the study of Torah. We immerse ourselves and engage in Torah as the words in Hebrew, la'asok. It doesn't mean to soak yourself up in Torah, but I like that image that we're soaking ourselves in Torah. So if you know this, sing along. It's really easy. The chorus goes like this. Sweet as honey, sweet as honey, sweet as honey on our tongue. Pretty easy, right? Let's try that all together. Sweet as honey, sweet as honey, sweet as honey on our tongue. Sing it again. Sweet as honey, sweet as honey, sweet as honey on our tongue. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav etzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah la'asok b'divrei Torah. Sweet as honey, sweet as honey, sweet as honey, sweet as honey on our tongue. Sweet as honey, sweet as honey, sweet as honey on our tongue. One more time. Sweet as honey, sweet as honey, sweet as honey on our tongue. Sweet as honey, sweet as honey, sweet as honey on our tongue.
Another poem, this by Stacy Robinson. The Forever of Us. Maimonides and Rashi, Spinoza too, and Buber, I saw them, just over there talking the deep talk of this and that, while the partisans sang drinking songs and laughed at the rumbling, booming gravitas of God's own mountain song. Miriam tapped her timbrels in time to the thunder, calling us all to dance. Sarah led it, and Deborah, and Ruth, and Yetta, my grandmother, who could not go to school because she had no shoes, but she danced that wild and weary dance, holding hands with Esther and Golda. We all danced and trembled. I could barely hear that tinny counterpoint that threaded itself just beneath the deep and blaring bass that shivered the air under the deep bones of the mountain. Let Aaron and the others play with their tinker toy gold. The rest of us, the long chain of us that stretched into the forever of us, we could feel it. The fierce and jubilant joy of it. The not yet, but almost of it. And then the words came. They came like rain, like riddles, like ropes of silk, and caught some inner light, some spark left over from creation, and flowed like water over rocks. All those words of binding and gift and grace, they carried us and caught us and led us, the long forever line of us, the words that created the all of us, led us home.
Home. That's perfect. That's the name of this song. It's called Home. And it's by Joe Buchanan, and it has the words Eitz Chaim He in it. So I thought maybe I'll start with the chorus to teach you the chorus, and then every time it comes up, you'll be able to sing with me. chorus. Let's try it one more time. Come on back to your Father's truth and return to the holy root. Come on back to the wisdom of home and realize that you're not alone. Shine your light like your mother said, for you were there when we were led. There's a path for us all to see. Just grab that lamp that's at your feet. It's time here. Machazikim ba tomchecha me'ushar. You can hear it. It's in the breeze. It's a story written in the leaves. Through those branches, they may wind and weave. It's a tree of life. It's Hayim Chi. Here we go. It's Hayim Chi. Machazikim ba tomchecha me'ushar. It's Hayim Chi. Machazikim ba light those lights that usher peace. You can feel it, it's in your bones, the growing song that calls you home. It's Hayim Hi, Machazikim ba tomchecha me'ushar. It's Hayim Hi, Machazikim ba tomchecha me'ushar.
We'd like to call up Jerry Prell as we transition to our stories this evening, wishing everyone a Chag Sameach.
Spiritual Revelations.
Reuniting with our community.
Written by
Mark Thompson,
Susan Phillips,
Joyce Greenberg Lott,
Adolfo Guzman Lopez,
Odette Armour,
Hannah Wise and Kevin Kelso,
Karen Kalishman,
David Hillinger,
Jerry Prell,
Randy J. Schaefer,
Audrey Hyde Zoller,
Ruth Cooperman,
and Bill Schaefer.
We take ourselves back 2 years, imagining our preschool children going from being able to spend the day at school, eating a snack together, to spending every day, all day at home. It's a crazy world. It's a strange time for all boys and girls. But we count our blessings every single day. With the love of family and the care of friends, we will be okay. But we count our blessings every single day. With the love of family and the care of friends, we will be okay.
Is this some kind of sick joke? My question was directed at the cute young waitress who had just presented me with the bill inside a book, which was apparently the custom at the Griffin Tea Room.
Excuse me, sir?
Did you happen to notice the title of this book? Destroying Angel, the Conquest of Smallpox in Colonial Boston.
I did glance at the title when I grabbed the book, and I kind of wondered about it myself. Given what's going on, I guess it's a coincidence that I took that one. Maybe a bit ironic, right? But really, I didn't choose it on purpose.
My wife Betsy and I were visiting Savannah, Georgia for the very first time, and had already fallen in love with the city. We happened to arrive on the eve of St. Patrick's Day 2020. But the Savannah River was not flowing green, nor was there any revelry. The whole town seemed to have come to a halt.
This year, on account of COVID-19, the mayor canceled all official celebrations. Normally right now, all 21 historic city squares and the bars would be packed with people. Yesterday, we were busy as bees, but as y'all can see, there's hardly anyone on the streets now. It's a strange, mysterious, weird kind of quietude, isn't it?
So I ate the last cheese straw on my plate, opened the book, and read the epigraph. An entry into the diary of Puritan minister Cotton Mather, written on June 2nd, 1721, as a rapidly spreading smallpox became an epidemic in Boston.
Because of the destroying angel standing over the town and grievous consternation on the minds of the people, I move the ministers who are the lecturers of the city to turn the next lecture into a day of prayer that we may prepare to meet our God.
It turned out that a smallpox epidemic that appeared in Boston 3 centuries ago was one of the deadliest in colonial America.
Well over half the city's population contracted the disease. 850, nearly 1 in 8, succumbed in the months between spring 1721 and winter 1722. But largely through the efforts of Cotton Mather and others, inoculations were made universal and effectively eradicated the disease.
On Monday, March 16, 2020, in the United States,
according to the Savannah Morning News,
there were 6,473 reported active cases of COVID-19. 86 were dead. In just 1 week, the number of infected Americans had tripled.
Well, Betsy and I were becoming alarmed at the rapid spread of the deadly virus. Heeding the advice of Cotton Mather from 300 years earlier, I was more than ready to accept a day of prayer. So not far from the Griffin Tea Room stood the majestic Gothic synagogue of Congregation Mikveh Israel. Rabbi Robert Hass stood on the pulpit and opened the Friday night Shabbat service with an apology.
I'm afraid you'll have to put up with my singing tonight. Our cantorial soloist isn't feeling well, and she's staying home.
We were sitting in front. I raised my hand. Rabbi, if you need a cantor, I'd be happy to help.
Are you a cantor?
I am.
Well, please, do come up.
During the next hour, I served as the Shaliach Tzibur for the third oldest congregation in the United States, actually founded in 1733. The acoustics of the magnificent sanctuary were amazing. Singing there was one of the highlights of my cantorial career. But it would be the last in-person worship service held at Congregation Mikveh Israel for nearly 2 years. With the news of that this novel coronavirus was spreading rapidly, Betsy and I took a flight home as quickly as we could. The stock market was in free fall that Monday morning, and the grocery market shelves were stripped of
bottled water,
toilet paper,
and hand sanitizer.
Overnight, it seemed like the population had moved into survivalist mode, stocking up on all those basics, plus all manner of
frozen food,
vegetables,
meat,
fish,
poultry.
But strangely enough, neither candy nor liquor. In the space of about a week, the new watchword was social distancing. 3 feet at first, but then it increased to 6. All public gatherings which were at first discouraged, were now prohibited.
Schools and universities shut down their physical classrooms and moved to online teaching. Churches and synagogues had to reconceive worship services, either conducting them virtually online or moving them outdoors.
Corporations instructed their employees to work from home and use video conferencing on Zoom, one of the only companies whose stock rose like a rocket.
The NBA and NHL canceled their series.
All Major League Baseball games were played in empty stadiums.
Older adults were self-isolating. Returning travelers were self-quarantining in their homes.
But not the millennials. Their generation, either ignoring the prophets of doom or thumbing their noses at them, organized plague parties, dancing, drinking, and mocking the fear and panic around them.
After all, the word was that those of us over the age of 65 were far more likely than millennials to die from COVID-19. On Friday, September 17th, 2021, the day after Yom Kippur, I was conducting worship services at Temple Israel for the clergy who were taking some well-deserved time off after the High Holy Days. 18 months had passed since Betsy and I had visited Savannah. Congregation Mikveh Israel still remained essentially closed. Rabbi Hass remarked,
My congregation is trying a hybrid system with a few services being recorded and only a small number allowed. Any activities with families is outdoors. It's just continually in motion.
Continually in motion.
Continually in motion. The Torah portion in that Shabbat was Ha'atzinu. It consists mostly of a song, poetry in motion, a song that Moses wrote and taught to the children of Israel.
Moses came together with Joshua, son of Nun, and recited all the words of this Shirah in the hearing of the people.
Ha'atzinu is certainly not the most harmonious among the 10 songs we encounter during our annual Torah reading. It doesn't sing of victory over our enemies. It's rather dissonant. It deals with our self-inflicted battles in the wilderness, and reminds us of our own internal struggles. The rabbis say,
it's more than just a song. It really is the entire Torah. It's a recapitulation of our ongoing struggle to become our best selves, to be continually in motion, to become restlessly better.
The Kabbalists teach us that without a language containing images that are fluid and constantly in motion, we can't even begin to perceive reality. And that is music. This music, the poetry of Ha'atzinu, the interplay of notes and time constantly changing in continual restless motion. No matter how many times I've read Ha'atzinu or any other chapter of Torah, I gain fresh insights and usually something new to ponder. For many years, I regarded my restlessness as a character flaw. But this time when I read Parshat Ha'atzinu, I realize that song, which underscores so much of my life, is poetry in motion. That our tradition encourages us to struggle to become our best selves. This time I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. It's okay to have restless legs. They take me on trails less traveled, and perhaps I am a better person for them.
What? You say I can't go anywhere? That's okay. I don't think I have anywhere I want to go. Isolate? I don't think I like this isolation business. I've often thought that, although I would hate being told that I had to wear a burqa, I would find it very liberating. No focus on my hair, my makeup, my clothes, just throw on a burqa and go on about my business and hide the entire time. In that way, for me, isolating is much like wearing a burqa. Have I become antisocial? I don't think so. I still delight in seeing and speaking with friends, but I am also happy to remain home with myself and my husband. Are there people and things I miss? Absolutely. Yet, I find myself reluctant to trade the safety and comfort of my home for the unknown quantity of being in the midst.
Dab by dab, Le Grand Jatte appears right outside my apartment window. The same dogs, the same couples, the same groups sitting on the grass, a child skipping, a single person standing. But now a man sits on a bench and drums into the pandemic. A woman moves her hands through the trash and searches for food. Masked monks walk single file, 6 feet apart. Sarah left nothing to chance. His dots moved into a hole. From my window, I try to recreate this, but I can't stand back far enough to view what I see as art. Maybe it's Sarah's silence I crave, or his sense of harmony. I'm deafened by sounds, helicopters, car horns, fire trucks, cries of crazies looking for a place that didn't get sketched for them. Nothing outside my window is still. There is no stillness in which to stay.
Hurry up and finish getting dressed. The bat mitzvah's going to start, and I want to check our internet connection. Oh, look, it's the bat mitzvah girl. And look, there's Aunt Mildred from Melbourne.
Isn't it next Shabbat there?
Shh. I've always wanted to visit her. Oh, look, it's David, his wife, and the baby. They're in their parents' old dining room.
Wow, with that remodel, that house doesn't look like it belongs in Encino.
Oh, look, there's something in the chat. David's congratulating you on your suit jacket. Brooks Brothers.
Hey, left me broke, brother.
What are you doing? Sit down.
It's the standing prayer. If the rabbi sees you standing and me sitting, what's everyone going to say?
That you're still in your boxers? Oh, look, it's the first Aliyah.
Jose Moscona, who's that?
Oh, that's Ami's grandson. It's the family that ended up in Mexico City after the war. I hear he lives high above the city in the hills. It looks like Switzerland. Oh, pay attention.
Baruch Adonai Hamorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam.
Good day, mate.
Shh. Asher atan lanu Torah temeh.
Post-COVID, we're going to Paris.
V'chayet olam nata b'tochenu, Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Cabo.
Amen.
Whoa.
When it had happened, it had no official name. It happened to me. When they first announced it, people mocked it or thought it was the flu, just a bit more severe. For others, it was a myth. Who knew it would become a legend? It ground the world to a standstill. Suddenly, shut in with no escape routes, no way to move. I was already separated by my family by moving to the States. Then what was supposed to be my reason for moving was no longer my need. He was gone. And with him, his family abandoned me without any concern about the impact on my already lonely life. And it came from Missouri. And my last refuge was gone. My synagogue and beloved congregation would meet no more. My friends could not be near me. I worked, but I was all but a robot. And so a revelation had begun. My one friend beckoned me. It would not let me be alone. It would not let me stay a robot. Welcome to the digital age. Now suddenly Zoom enters my world and Facebook lets us video chat, the cell phone, the laptop. They let me redefine priorities. My world has gotten bigger. It could work. I could work it through. I could keep in touch with my friends, near and far. It helped me make the move I had always wanted when I lost the one thing tethering me to a life I did not know I was boxed into. The one thing it cannot do is human contact. Masked. A new masked world, a new masked state. A hope and vision come with it. Gone are the shackles of a world I did not really belong in. It was the illusion, the blinder replaced by a mask. But there are real people to talk to. Human contact. Two worlds of digital and human contact have learned to coexist. Here I have found my new touchstone of a beloved shul in Temple, Israel, and my new congregation greet me with open arms. A new exciting life shaped with all possibilities, and as the song so brilliantly says, who knows? Only time.
I have a lot of cookbooks. Okay, truth is I have way too many cookbooks. And it's funny because I don't even cook very much. Well, not true actually. I used to not cook very much. Along with every other aspect of my life, that's changed of late. I mean, believe me, I support the local restaurants as much as any foodie. But it does feel kind of silly waiting for a warm Cobb salad or cold chicken shawarma from DoorDash. Especially with all these beautiful cookbooks in my kitchen. So I started looking through those beautiful books, and I started cooking. And then I was reminded of my old recipe box, the one with the yellowing index cards of cherished family recipes. The system I used to use before I could just download any recipe imaginable. And there they were. Boobie's stuffed cabbage. Aunt Rose's strudel. Oh, God, the strudel my Aunt Rose made. Now, she was one person who could never understand going out. It's a waste of money, she'd say. Sit down, have some stuffed cabbage. Oh, would you like some strudel? I can still see her there, rolling out pastry, baking, cooking. Everything's so delicious. In her crowded little kitchen, in a well-worn pot, and Rose prepares the soup that she is serving for Shabbat. She says when rolling matzo balls, you have to know a couple little tricks. She adds a little soda or seltzer to the mix, and the matzo balls are fluffy. The broth is rich and warms you to your toes. Cooking feeds the spirit, according to Aunt Rose. In a corner of the counter, in a Pyrex dish, Aunt Rose prepares the sauce before she pours it on the fish. She makes it like her mother did, and everybody always asks for more. They made it every Seder, at least until the war. Uncle Bernie always told us that dish is what convinced him to propose. Cooking makes the family, according to Aunt Rose. Aunt Rose can give you tips on how to pound your schnitzel flat, or why you won't get any schmaltz if your chicken isn't fat. But don't ask her about Auschwitz. She will not speak of that, or of the pain, or of the baby-faced soldier who pushed her on the train. In her slightly faded apron and her pale pink skirt, and Rose is baking apple cake to serve us for dessert. She says that it's her favorite, and she always licked the beaters as a kid. She adds a bit of nutmeg, just like her mother did. And she puts it in the oven and wipes a speck of flour from her nose, and stares outside the window, remembering her family, I suppose. This is how we honor them. This is how we honor them, according to Aunt
Life has always had its ups and downs, but these 2 years, illness, death, illness, birth, 2 years of extremes, isolation, desolation, fear, desperation, anxiety, tension, frustration, inconsolable sadness, grief, and loneliness. Where are my people? Talking Heads in boxes on a machine. Small consolation. A Zoom is only a temporary reprieve. Hugs become memes on a screen. Where are the smiles? Where's the warmth of a gentle embrace? Where is the support? Where is the connections? Just not the same. Where is my community? Where is my God? How can the joy of the birth of our grandchild be overshadowed by the death and the illness of my father? How can I let this happen? Judaism does not teach this. My father wouldn't have wanted this. Judaism teaches us to mourn the death of a loved one in one's own way and to honor the life of the person who has passed. But illness, death, and mourning, both personally and globally, grips and swallows me during these years of the pandemic. I think that Judaism teaches that the joy of new life takes precedence over death and sadness. Why can I not shake myself out of this to appreciate all that's being given to me? And yet, how can I be so consumed with my little life when the world is turned upside down? When my world is on fire, I volunteer, I donate, I perform Tikkun Olam, but my zest is gone. Anger at myself, anger at God. Where is my God? Are we like Abraham negotiating with God? We can find a few righteous men in Sodom and Gomorrah. How many righteous men will it take? Will God help save us from ourselves? And then, as if in a revelation, I remember a feeling comforting. God is in us all. That spark, I had lost it. I had lost the joy. I lost that miraculous feeling of a new life being born. I lost the renewal and the beauty of a new day. God has been here all along. It is I who is lost. It is people who are lost. And now, I walk into temple for the first time in 2 years, and the feeling is indescribable, but electrically palpable. That good vibrational energy, that God force felt in community is stronger. Judaism teaches that one can pray alone, but that praying in the community is stronger. I think I learned in an Intro to Kabbalah class that praying in community will balance the evil with the good. I feel renewed, replenished, reborn. Like a pebble thrown in a pond, it ripples out larger and larger. The hugs, the smiles, the warmth. We need. The world needs these good prayer vibrations. The vibrations of good deeds, the vibrations of good feelings. We can do it together, and it will ripple across the world.
Contact. Human contact. Human to human contact. Human to human contact is a basic human need. Longing. Longing for contact. Longing for contact without anxiety, without apprehension and hesitation, without angst, concern, and dread. Most of all, longing for contact without fear. A father longing to meet his daughter's new fiancée. The daughter's longing to sit with her best friend from high school. A grandmother longing to hold her newly born grandchild for the very first time. Simple things. We miss the simple things. We miss our book clubs, our bridge nights, our poker nights, our game nights. We miss the warmth of a family reunion. We miss the camaraderie of gathering together with our other family, our temple family. We miss in-person Torah talks. We miss the musical joy of attending Gat Shabbat. We miss seeing that emotional moment when the Torah is passed from the older generation to the younger. We miss the loving look shared between the bride and the groom. We miss sharing in communal sorrow as we say goodbye to a loved one together. We miss each other. We miss studying together. We miss singing together. We miss each other's humor, smiles, and laughter. We just miss each other.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asot b'divrei Torah. Glad you could join us, Beverly.
Thank you, Rabbi. I had to give my mother a ride to her church. They had a rummage sale this morning.
And that is our entire Torah portion for this week. Before I give you my thoughts, let's open it up to the group so I can hear what you have to say.
Well, I have a problem with what it says here. These words are archaic, old-fashioned. They're the reason people act the way they act these days.
And once again, what this needs is better editing. Look, it makes no sense for this section to be in the story here. It really belongs in the middle of last week's Torah portion.
This is deep for me. Look at chapter 23, verse 4. Ger v'toshav anochi imachem. Ger, stranger, immigrant, refugee. That strikes me to my core. I am a stranger and a resident among you. You all know that I was not born Jewish and I haven't converted. I've been studying with you here for over 10 years through 3 rabbis, with all due respect, Rabbi. What Torah is telling me today is to look at the insider and the outsider in me, and for our congregation to reconsider the outsider as the insider. I've said this here before, I'm not Jewish, but Judaism is my religious practice. How do we, as a congregation, use language to make space for people like me?
Well, first of all, I want to say to you, Beverly, that I hope we have been nothing but welcoming. And by the way, some of my best friends are Goyim.
Beverly, are you okay? Okay. Beverly?
You know what, Rupert? I'm not going to stay silent. I need to say to you that that is a word of separation. Walls may have protected this community with words generations ago, but not anymore. The tent needs to be open. Rupert, let's break down that wall. Let's find new words that join us, that connect us.
Together we say,
Hazak, hazak,
V'nit
hazak. Be strong,
be strong.
Let us be strengthened.
Ishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu Vitzivanu, Vitzivanu.
I'm staring at my laptop. I'm staring at 49 little boxes, and I'm in one of them. Faces are staring back at me, some blank, some seemingly bored, others distracted, obviously checking their social media. A few appear to be in their pajamas, lounging in bed, eating a bowl of cereal or chips from a bag. A few resist turning on their cameras at all, black boxes with a name. Esther, William, Raoul, Melissa, Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong. This is higher education during a pandemic. I am weary. They are weary. No one signed up for this, but here we are, persevering our hearts out. Persevering what's left of my fortitude to teach and their fortitude to learn. Exhausted to my academic core. But the show must go on. Literally, this is an acting class for non-acting majors, a general ed arts class required by the university. Now, live in the classroom is hard enough, but Zooming online with these Gen Zs is a Herculean task. In the classroom, I'm on my feet. I twist, I turn, I run, I veer from left to right. I am the LA Ram wide receiver Cooper Kupp of the classroom. I work the academic stage like Don Rickles. I fill that space with a sense of joy, passion, and learning. It is satisfying. But now, I sit stationary in my home office. My legs are falling asleep. My butt's gone numb. A few more boxes have gone blank. Emma, Joseph, Callie. Everyone but me is muted. Some are so still, I wonder if they're actually a real person or a photo. Are they moving? Are they breathing? Can you resuscitate someone on a laptop? Okay, if I wait any longer, I'm going to start weeping. Students should never see the professor weep. Okay, let's do this, everyone. Unmute. Slowly, little mute icons start to vanish. I greet the faces in the boxes individually. Hey, Miguel. Hi, Jessica. Love your glasses. Welcome, Brian. Ava, awesome poster behind you. Sanjana, find some light, no living in the shadows. Hi, Jasmine. How are the Cocoa Puffs? Victor, Gannon, Desi, Leah, cool t-shirt. Esther, Raul, Melissa, Emma, Joseph and Callie, please turn on your cameras. You too, Donkey Kong. How you doing, Ashley? Drew, Quan, Melanie? Is that a stuffed unicorn, Navu? I see you, Tyler, Kajiki, Dean, David, Calvin, and on, until all 48 have been welcomed and seen. They want to be seen. Thank you for being in my class. Okay, now, I can't feel my butt, so let's get up, on your feet, and we're going to build a little synergy. First thing we're going to do at the top of every class is an open gesture, like this. You got it? Now do it with me. Hey, I start seeing more and more people doing it. And I see more smiles and another open gesture. A couple are laughing. Whoa, this is weird, I hear one say. It's supposed to be weird. This is acting class. And suddenly, I'm looking at all these young people coming together, doing open gestures, and it seems like something is really starting to work. They're building a disconnected, connected community online, and it feels wonderful. Only 31 classes to go. Oy vey.
Maestro. My very favorite lipstick is a shade called Blushing Pink. The tube is sleek, the packaging is classy. No animals were tested in its making, I don't think. And it's made my lips look plump and smooth and sassy. My very favorite lipstick, well, it's funny you should ask. It hasn't been uncapped since 2020. What need is there for lipstick with your face behind a mask? The good news is I've saved a ton of money. I know I have no cause to complain. I know. It makes me sound so vain, I know, when other folks have really, truly suffered, really, really. But yes, you feel resistant when you're socially this distant and your love life has gone south because your mouth is non-existent. My very favorite lipstick is maturing in my drawer. The color now a putrid shade of coral. Its texture isn't buttery and sexy anymore, and the scent's a kind of funky sort of floral. Okay, this bitching is a stretch. Okay, I have no right to fetch. When other people really got them sick, I know I've seen it. But I was strict with quarantining. I had every kind of screening. I vaccinated and triple cleaned, so please don't misconstrue my meaning. My very favorite lipstick is a little thing, I grant you, but big can overwhelm you if you let it. And you can find some lightness in the situation, can't you? Well, if you can't, I see it, but I get it. The thing is, and though I may seem flippant, I am quite the pro at masking. I can Zoom while making breakfast, 'cause I'm great at multitasking. So besides my favorite lipstick, things are perfect. Really perfect. I am perfect. Thanks for asking.
It's my lipstick. Unquestionably, the pandemic changed everyone's life in one or more ways. My wife Robin and I moved to Long Beach in May 2019, following our two daughters who had moved to Los Angeles. Nearing retirement age, we found Long Beach loaded with entertainment, recreational, and dining opportunities. We quickly found a home and formed friendships at Temple Israel. We planned an exciting family trip to South America for July 2020. I had been doing on-site client work in Boston, 17 trips in 8 months, when news of a pandemic reaching the Seattle area broke in early February 2020. Within a month, my travel ceased and I began working grueling East Coast hours from Long Beach. And this was the mildest aspect of change. Dining out stopped. Indoor entertainment mostly stopped, with some shift to Zoom. My LA Chargers season tickets were pushed to 2021. Torah study, Zoom. Visits with friends, Zoom. Grocery shopping, we paid people to shop, and when groceries arrived, we wiped everything down. Everything. Masks, gloves, and as they became available, vaccines became the order of the day. One of our daughters lived a relatively isolated life with her work on Zoom. She was the only person to come and go in our apartment. The other daughter's daily agenda involved interaction with others. She would come for dinner and eat in the corridor outside our apartment. We would eat on benches inside the apartment. Our son was in New York City, and on his arrival for his first 2 visits, pre-vaccine, we put him up at a hotel down the street for 10 days, and then he moved in for several weeks. As vaccines became available, as the nature of transmissibility became better understood, and as each new variant appeared to become less lethal, we slowly began to relax some of our precautions. I worked remotely for 15 more months, so in short, we came through COVID largely intact and feel very lucky. America, not so much, in 2 ways. First, we now have over 1 million deaths from COVID. I don't think it is a stretch to say that everyone in America knows somebody who has died from COVID. According to Wikipedia, in nearly 70 wars involving our country, the U.S. has experienced 1.35 million deaths, a larger but same order of magnitude number as the million deaths we have from COVID. The second impact to America can be seen in the continued tribalization of politics. Freedom became a term used as if we were still fighting for civil rights in the 1960s. Misinformation naturally found its way into the discourse. Civic engagement took a severe downturn, starting with a president disrespecting experts and touting from unproven remedies to downright poisonous bleach. Some of his political followers equated masking rules with Nazis, trivializing the horrors of the Holocaust, pandering for a good soundbite, and displaying both callousness and ignorance all in one tweet. Following this lead, we would see disregard for the science of masks and vaccinations. There was never a discussion or engagement on the balance of your right to mask versus my right not to get COVID from you. Many friendships have been lost and families fractured over this point. Finally, the unabashed disregard of mandated masking rules, particularly airlines, where flight attendants enforcing masking rules did so at the risk of a black eye. All this leaves me with two questions. One, how did we get through nationwide polio vaccinations? And two, what would it take to heal America's divisions if a calamity like COVID only deepened them?
I am at one with all the mothers in this different world. I worry too about my children, and I care. I know an abuela, noni, safta, trying to explain this craziness, just wanting it to disappear. And I get it, and I care. I'm concerned for our nurses and doctors, caregivers, and first responders all over the world. And I care. And one day we wake up and no one will have the virus, when no one dies and life is sort of normal. And once again, world leaders stop caring. Promise me, I will still care.
What does it mean to show my face? What does it mean to be reborn? I ask these questions because this is what I experience as I rejoin humanity. After being so cut off for so long, I look forward to every event that I can participate in a brand new way, and I'm experiencing it for the first time. I appreciate every day that I have in this world. I long for human contact with friends in real time. I want to see faces and expressions. I want to strip away all the barriers that separate us, all the masks, the Zoom, and the virtual world. Recently, I attended an event at the Japanese Garden in Long Beach. It had been closed for many months and reopened. It was so beautiful, like something I might imagine in a dream. The colors of the plants, the trees, the harmony and the spaces and the shapes, the beauty of the colorful koi, all combined together for a feeling of serenity and peace. There were people without masks talking and sharing in a relaxed way. Every moment there seemed filled with a special grace, a pause in time and space. People were able to connect, reconnect, being with others. I think I have missed the simplicity of just being with others. For me, the toll of the pandemic was not so much the fear of the illness, but the loss of the human connection. To have it once again makes it all the sweeter.
Well, to conclude the performance part of the program, we're all going to sing together Hazak, which is on the back of your program. And please stay, there will be a discussion afterwards. This will just conclude the performance part. From near and far, to raise our voice in song.
And the more we join in the refrain, the more we feel strong. Hazak, Hazak, Venitase. There is a power in this place and time. It shapes the rest of our lives. For when we return each year, we find a truth we can't deny. Be strong, let us strengthen one another. Be strong, let us celebrate our lives. Be strong, let us strengthen one another. Hazak, Hazak, Venikaze. Hazak, Hazak, Venitase. As we sing, we link ourselves to those who've come before. And we're one with all those yet to come. Our strength, it will endure. Be strong, let us strengthen one another. Be strong, let us celebrate our lives. Be strong, let us celebrate another. Hazak, Hazak. Be strong, let us strengthen one another. Be strong, let us strengthen one another. Be strong, let us strengthen one another. Hazak, Hazak, Venikaze.
Go, 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 go.
Hi, Susan. Joyce Greenberg Lott. Joyce, not here. Adolfo Gustavo. Donna Weiss here.
Yes, she is.
Karen Talishman. I believe is streaming. Jerry Prelier. Randy J. Scheifer is also streaming. Hey, Randy. Audrey Heisaler. Is Audrey here? Not here. And that's it. Ruth Cooperman, and we already saw Bill Shafton. So I'm going to turn this over to the rabbi. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. It's a very
guys staying? What's that? You staying a while? What? Can you take them all? Sure.
So we actually, first of all, let's give one more round of applause for everyone who was involved tonight. And a special thanks, I wonder if this is the same, a special thanks to Paul Levitt for doing sound this evening. Please go ahead.
You know, this would not have come together. Jerry Prell did it all. He was the director. He put the writings together, and he did it all in just a few weeks. We've been rehearsing only since the gala. So Jerry, really, without him, this would not have taken place.
So we thought part of Torah is reading and hearing the stories, but part of Torah is also asking questions of these stories. And so we very simply wanted to open this up to a question and answer, an opportunity for us to wonder, ask more details about the stories. And so I want to give us an opportunity. Anytime there's an invitation for questions, it takes a moment to let them rise to the surface. But what questions we have as we explore tonight? I think, do we have two microphones? Up, right, thank you. Okay. So here, I'll hand this over. So,
not so much a question as a comment. Jerry, I don't know you, but you either are a teacher or you know teachers. That I'm going to tell you. You hit it on the nose.
Hi, this was one thing that I asked my mother about, in dealing with a pandemic, was her experience in the polio epidemic. And I was wondering if you or if anyone here has an experience that they would like to share about how they got through that one.
Oh, yeah, Karen.
So when I was, I think, in 7th grade, I was... You got to point it right at you. Okay. Is that good? Yep. 7th grade, I became friendly with one of the few Jewish girls in my whole town. And her mother had polio. Her mother was in a wheelchair, and I didn't know anything about polio, and I was so shocked. I started asking a lot of questions. And her mother had such a wonderful attitude, and I'll never forget that. This woman who raised a family in a wheelchair was pretty amazing to me.
I would like to ask Hannah about the backstory of your Aunt Rose.
Well, I'm a musical theater writer, so that was made up. But it actually wasn't completely made up. I got a cookbook a long time ago called Things Remembered, and it was written, it was all the recipes of people that had experienced the Holocaust, and different recipes, and it touched me so much, I knew I wanted to write a song having to do with that, so. It didn't come completely out of nowhere.
So I'm going to address Cheryl's question again about polio, which was a similar experience to what you had. But my aunt, one of my mother's large family, one of her sisters, my Aunt Winona, had polio when she was a child, and my mother was tasked with taking care of her, and she became an RN because of that. Anyway, Aunt Winona had always had a limp, and she had a big shoe and a little shoe and stuff because she had surgery on her legs and her hips because of the polio. That was rampant during the time, before I was born, when my parents were children. And when I was a kid in elementary school, I was probably in early parts of elementary school, I think kindergarten and stuff at my age, when the Salk vaccine came out. And we did not have these issues with vaccination that we have now with the COVID vaccinations. Everyone was really grateful to have something that would address this horrible disease that so many had, and we don't even have it today. So that's my generation. My experience was my mother's generation, who had such severe problems with it. It's a horrible, horrible disease. And I just remember getting in school and getting the Salk vaccine and getting the sugar cubes and taking the, sometimes it was a liquid sugar combination, and I don't remember all the discussion and terror of the vaccine. They were afraid of the disease. So this whole, I have problems with vaccines and stuff, to me is like, seriously? You have a problem with the vaccine? Oh, your arm hurts? I heard people say, oh, my arm hurt. Yeah, well, you got a shot. Give it a couple days. Anyway, that's my personal experience with it. And she also got married and had a family as well. So I got to really respect someone who has had to go through that and still have a family.
I wanted to make a comment on Cliff's question and then pose a question for everybody. So first, as a physician, and Jerry is a teacher, and as a doctor and a parent of a teenager, the most stressed people during the pandemic were teens and teachers. And I saw so many teachers as patients who were just hardly able to hang on. And we had these two stressed populations trying to work together on Zoom. It's incredible what both teenagers and teachers had to go through the last 2 years. Thank you, teachers, for enduring. You can clap for teachers, any teachers that are here. The question I have for everybody was about the pieces. There was a lot about the isolation aspect, and the piece that really spoke to me was Susan Phillips' short piece about wearing a burqa and the freedom that would come with wearing a burqa and going from isolation to burqa. And I've talked to so many people, isolation was frustrating and hard, but at the same time, I've talked to a lot of people, it wasn't so bad. It was kind of nice. There were things I really liked about it. And life kind of slowed down, and you weren't running around and having meetings in person every night. So I'm just wondering, for people to kind of talk about, how was isolation for you? Was it something really actually kind of good, or was it really you were barely hanging on because you really needed to be with people?
Well, I live alone, so isolation was pretty isolating. The day after lockdown, I was supposed to be picking up a prescription at CVS, and I don't know if you all remember the riots. We had riots at the beginning of the lockdown, and the building was plywooded over, the one on Traffic Circle, and it's like no one was on the street. I was the only car on the street, and I get there, and this thing is completely boarded over. And no signs, when they're going to be reopening. Really, really scary. I'm alone. Very, very isolating. And I pretty much, the first few months, didn't go outside. I had friends who generously did shopping for me. I learned to cook. I went on Weight Watchers. So I had a goal in mind. But I basically spent 18 to 20 months on my own. And so my first birthday was in April, the first time during this thing. And I didn't do anything for it because we didn't even have drive-bys then. Remember drive-bys, to celebrate things. So for my 70th birthday, 2 or 3 days beforehand, I decided I would have a drive-by. So I sent out some emails to friends, most of them Temple friends, but other people as well. And my sister-in-law baked cupcakes, and I baked cupcakes, and I put together little goodie bags, and I didn't know who would show up. I said it between 4 and 6, and I just went and sat on a chair out by my driveway, out by my street, and several people said they would come over and keep me company. And people came by, and some of them came by, and they wouldn't even get out of their cars, and we took a picture. Cheryl and the person. But a lot of people stayed. I had to get them to move their cars so there'd be a place for the other people that were just driving up. And many people here who are my friends came. And Mark Beiser put his arm around me. It was moving. So isolation can be hard.
Let's go this way, Elisa, and then around.
Well, I had a slightly different experience in isolation. There were some blessings for me because at the time, I mean, I work full time. I have 2 children and a husband. I was commuting an hour each way to work. So when the pandemic happened, the blessing was that I was able to be home and sort of work from home, but it was, the beauty of it was to be with my family and to spend so much time with my children. I had never spent that much time with my children and my husband. And day after day after day, and cooking meals and going on walks and having to do our exercise and entertainment together. And then as things started to open up and the kids were doing other things and I had to go back to the office, I kind of started wishing for some more need to isolate at home because there was a silver lining to some of the restrictions that forced us all to slow down and just be together as a family, and that much I appreciated. Because now we're back to regular life.
Doreen, and then go ahead and hand it over to Odette.
So I'm a person who also lives alone. I'm a single person, and I'm a widow. I have no children, so I have no family. So I am completely alone in a rented room for the whole COVID shutdown. So my life is normally like I sleep there, but I live my life outside of the room that I rent because it's not like a pleasant environment. It's not like I have a garden or children or pets or anything. I mean, my roommate has some pets, but it's like 4 walls, and out my window is the wall of the higher story building next to us. That's my view. So it was extremely mentally challenging. I'm more introverted. I can be alone. That's good, but total aloneness, not a good thing. It was a very difficult thing for me, and I'm just very grateful that we were able to start opening up, even though we're not 100% back to normal functioning, but it's much, much better. That's my perspective.
So I had a question for everyone. How many of us streamed over the time that we were there, streaming either documentaries, movies, things like that? How many of us still thinks that that's going to be the future norm? The future norm, that things are going to melt. Well, the answer is, yeah, we've moved into an isolated generation. But now that the theaters are open, it's like people are going back to the theaters. They're using different mediums to do entertainment, which is kind of exciting for one who is in the entertainment industry. So in terms of that, was the hardest shift in the world to come from times when we were on sets, that is, we could all just get along together, put the movie together. We had large crowds. It's like, I remember times of ADing down the road where it was like 500 people that we had to get through hair, makeup, wardrobe to get them onto sets, stuff like that. When we came to that, to zoning. And as that happened, it's like our industry suffered. How many of us have been back to the theater since that time? My question to everyone is, what's going to bring us back to what is the new normal? Are we going to go back to our live theaters? Are we going to go into the movie theater? What challenges are we now going to face? Because we had 5 minutes during COVID that they sat there and said, okay, it's over. We can take our masks off now. Everything is cool. Let's all get back to normal. And then in less than a month, they were wiping through again and saying, nope, sorry, our bad. Back to masking. It's like, sorry, we were just a little too soon on that one and jumping the gun. And every single day we keep hearing the negatives. There's yet another strain, yet another strain, yet another strain. So one of the things that we have to go with ourselves is I'm asking everyone to kind of think, what's the new normal? What is the new social gathering? Is it worth always staying at home? Or if we're really truly feeling the isolation of that, there's some good in that also, because we have a new medium that we are able to broadcast through, but at the same time, we were even discussing this today in Torah class. We did last week on Zoom. We've been doing that as a hybrid. And the majority of us have agreed, the human contact is so much more. So I'm encouraging people to come join back into the theater, come be out there, come go to the movies, come back into society, but let's try and find a new normal. And I'd love to hear from everybody what their new normal is.
Let's take two more comments.
Where is Jerry? There he is. I just wanted to say thank you once again. This was a conversation that Jerry and I had many, many months ago. And to see a plan come to fruition like this is so heartwarming. So thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who said yes when asked to be part of this program. It's so rewarding for us as staff to see our congregants say yes and step forward and take leadership roles. So thank you all so much. I was really, I feel sort of emotional. But Jerry, your piece about the education, of course, got to me deeply. As a leader of a Jewish community during the pandemic, there was both great honor and responsibility in it. And I was really touched by all the pieces today, which kept returning to a need to be part of the Jewish community and part of Temple Israel. And sometimes when you're behind the Zoom screen, it was hard to know. And I'm so touched by everyone's continued perseverance and willingness to meet us wherever we needed to be in order to be together in some way. And for those of you who went through a life cycle event during this pandemic, I tip my proverbial hat to all of you. To have been a mourner during the pandemic, I think was a nightmare. It was an incorrect way of mourning a loss. And for those of you that welcomed a new life, it was also an incorrect way of welcoming a new life. And then all the weddings and the B'nai Mitzvah, we kept on living. And I thank you for being part of the journey with all of us.
I just wanted to add, and maybe to answer a little bit of Odette's question, is that going through this process, I was really reminded of the power of storytelling. And, not only did I really feel like I learned from the stories that were presented here tonight, but during this process, I think the group that was together doing this, we told other stories to each other as well. And I really appreciated, again, the difference and experienced the people who were alone, single, by themselves during the pandemic versus people who were with their families or a larger family, and what that was like and how isolating it was for different people in different circumstances. And Cheryl had just mentioned, and reminded me that at the start of the pandemic, there was a significant amount of social upheaval and riots and unrest in our city. And actually, the first time I cried during the pandemic was when Sharon was racing down the street with the Torah scrolls in the back of her truck because they had to be evacuated from the temple because of physical threat to the temple. And the world just seemed so fractured at that point. And, it's like, the question has come up, how do we repair this? How do we, come back to this? And I think Sharon, really hit on that is, coming back together here where we're with the Taurus girls, where we're with each other. I mean, that's part of the repairing process.
I'd just like to say,
Please.
I noticed an omission in the program. My apologies. Odette Amour wrote COVID a Journey, and she wasn't recognized. And Contact was written by David Hillinger. So I just wanted to make sure.
Thank you. Let's give another round of applause for all of our writers, our players, for Jerry, for Paul. This evening is all about reading and understanding the words in our Torah, and it says, perhaps more than anything else, our story is that we were once slaves. We once were in a narrow place, and we are reminding ourselves that there is a way forward. Part of the way forward is to reflect, to think back on what these past couple of years have been, what pain, perhaps silver linings, and perhaps difficulties that have come from this time, and to learn from it. But again, to have this reminder that we were in a narrow place and that we are moving forward. And so tonight, thank you for learning Torah together as we tell our stories and as we make our way forward to that promised land, whatever that promise might be. Good evening, everyone.
Thank you all again for being here. Please continue to join us. We have lots of exciting things coming up, including on Tuesday evening, another night not to be missed, a panel discussion facilitated by Adolfo Guzman Lopez, and 3 incredible congregants telling their story of immigration and what it is like to be a Jew and an immigrant. Beautiful stories to be heard and to appreciate. So please join us at 7 p.m. Tuesday evening right here. Thanks again, everyone. Good night.
Thank you.